Well, hey folks, it's your old pal King Waspinator. Welcome back to Total Party Skills. I'm finding it increasingly amusing, the general reaction that's emerging to all the announced changes coming to the OGL license and 1D&D and all the monetization controversies. I wouldn't quite say it's really has united the fan base again, but it's as close of a unification event as I've seen in quite some time, especially in one of those ones that creates somewhat strange bedfellows as some of the younger anti-capitalist types and some of the older stuck in their ways and loyal to the original intentions of the game types who haven't been seeing eye to eye the last few years are suddenly rather on the same page. And so, see what comes of that and what fruit may or may not be born. Have seen though a bubbling emergent conversation or desire, a longing, a calling for some sort of new universal open license system that anyone can just use and not have to worry about tentacles of the corporate overlords coming for your YouTube channel content and your PDFs and any of that kind of stuff. Technically, I've already made one. The game system that most of my books use, the Total Party system, it's not like it's trademarked or anything. I'm just like an underground punk rock self-publishing kind of guy, doing B movie concept games, with my own real simplistic rule system that's designed to be easy to get your head around, but actually be rather hard on the players. Because fuck the players, the dungeon masters are my customers, and so I write books for dungeon masters to read, kind of a thing. But I'm just like a little nobody. So like it's not like I expect anything to come to that, and I'm actually rather surprised I haven't heard more pushback on the rule system I designed. But someone in a comment in one of my more recent videos said that they'd like to see me, RPG pundit, Chris Gonerman, and Runehammer get together and make a new universal system, which is flattering to be sure. I pretty sure most, if not all, those guys don't really want to give me that kind of time of day. At least I have had interaction with the RPG pundit in the past. I had paid him to consult the first book I wrote, which was Orc and Bone. But since then, I've kind of been doing my own thing, and he lives on the other side of the fucking planet. I don't necessarily want to like work through Skype on that sort of a project. I do have quite a few Chris Gonerman books on my shelves, like quite a few of the basic fantasy products, and his newer Iron Falcon game, which is more of like a first edition AD&D clone, whereas basic fantasy is closer to your old box sets and Beckme kind of stuff. Which they're pretty good books. I'm waiting to get my copy of Iron Falcon 75, which is apparently taking that concept and basically having like like the D&D cartoon almost, where you're playing characters in the real world in the year 1975, probably in the vicinity of Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, by some sort of coincidence. Except you're playing a D&D game because weird magical stuff is suddenly appearing. At least that's what the blurb on Amazon said, and I'll get a chance to look at that and give my thoughts down the road on it. But Chris Gonerman's a good person. I've heard the name Runehammer, but I'm not at all familiar with his output, so I assume that the person who left the comment had reason for also putting him on the list. Thing is everyone's going to have very different ideas about exactly what they want out of a universal rule system. It's really, people have already been trying to make universal rule systems already. It's why we have all the different rule systems that are out there. Like these are all kind of attempts at that in their own ways. I feel like the basic stuff is just to like lay the foundations, so everyone kind of agrees on what the rules are there to actuate. What are the actual principles of what role playing games are doing? From my point of view, the fundamental thing that's really going on is a role playing game has to force players to make choices, and there has to be enough things going on that creates kind of a scarcity effect. Where they're monitoring the aspects of their character that they don't have much of, and feeling confident about the aspects of their character that they have a lot of. You have a lot of points in a certain skill, gives you a false sense of comfort. I got a +6 to my persuasion bonus. I can talk my way through anything. Or, you know, I only got a +1 to my persuasion. I'm probably not going to be any good. Ignoring the fact that, you know, the dice randomness actually, you know, negates most bonuses. Like, you know, having that +6 maybe increases your odds of success by like 25%. A lot of that depends on where the dungeon master, game master, whatever you want to call them, yeah, you know, setting the difficulty. They rely on tension. Part of why combat is such a central feature to role-playing games and why they developed out-of-war games in particular is that combat as a scenario brings a lot of these factors into play. Every turn, characters have to make a decision as to whether to attack or retreat or what kind of attack, or, you know, do they want to cast a healing spell or do something to help another character? You know, like, how do they want to move? Are there any skills they want to use? Like, it's a structured, intense event. The characters are scared as their hit point pool drops. You know, as I said, it gets closer to 0. It triggers scarcity type instincts in people. What the actual numbers are kind of is meaningless. In many ways, they're kind of a set effect. I prefer leaner systems. It's kind of why I had a problem with the Marvel multiverse game, is that like so many of the bonuses that they're giving characters, it's just meaninglessly high. You know, Spider-Man doesn't need a +15 to strength. If everyone like had that notched down by 10, it would still work exactly the same. It creates this illusion of having a big, impressive number. I prefer to keep people in that scarcity zone because it's that constant worry and tension of failure is part of what creates the excitement of people wanting to keep coming back for more. It triggers into many of the same kind of psychological tics that make gambling work. It's why systems that don't use dice at all tend not to be very popular or really all that fun. It's that randomness that makes it a game. You know, you've made your choices, you've thought out your plan, but is it going to work? That false sense of security, if you have a high bonus or a high pool of hit points, is there to lure you into thinking that you have a chance to beat the house when you lay down your cards at the poker table. But in reality, unless people are using weighted dice or doing something stupid, or the dungeon master is like not experienced at setting, you know, difficulty numbers and stuff and targets very well, you know, it's always going to be up in the air as to whether or not you succeed, and it's that chance of failure that makes victory more sweet and triggers, you know, those dopamine reactions that you get out of winning a game. Even though in the instance of a role-playing game, you're not actually, you know, winning any real money or anything like that. Experience points and earning treasure, they're important because it creates a sense of reward feedback. You feel like you're progressing. The players feel like they're earning something. For whatever reason, people like points. You know, there's just a basic thing, as I said, that goes to the scarcity instinct of like low numbers are bad, high numbers are good. You have a high number, you feel like, you know, you're safe and secure, and you can, like, oh, it's all right, I got 80 hit points, I could fight this harpy. You know, but if you roll bad 5 times in a row and the harpy rolls good 5 times in a row, and suddenly, you know, that confidence like lured you in for the kill. These are all things that underlie all the rule systems that are out there, and God, there's so much else. You know, like how equipment actually shapes player characters, and whether or not you actually really need attributes or ability scores or whatever it is you wanted to call them in your system. You know, why you want to itemize things out into specific skill categories and skills so that you can create a build, so you have some sense that you have a distinct character that's different from the other players, and that you can all, you know, kind of come together and create this team dynamic by filling in each other's gaps and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of just basic fundamental principles that have to be laid out before you can even start to worry about what are we going to call dexterity and like how big of a bonus do you get to attack at level 5. That's all secondary nonsense and set dressing. So yeah, it's interesting that there's calls for that going out there and increasing in number just for some minor little tweaks that they've proposed to the OGL. So I don't know. from a corporate's point of view, they feel like everything they've been doing for the last decade has been working. They've been making all this money. The brand recognition has been growing. All that precious brand recognition. But it's in a way they also being lulled by a false sense of security by having had accumulated a large set of numbers, but it still comes down to that random factor of like, have they antagonized the fan base so much while making money off them that the proposal of like, you guys haven't been doing good enough, that like $800 you spent on minis and all the books you need for D&D, and having a nice, map pack and some professional character sheets and like 2 or 3 different Dungeon Master screens. All that investment, it wasn't good enough for us. You fucking cheapskate fucking nobodies. Why aren't you making your players give us money? You fucking lowlives. It's like, is it really a big wonder that, people are kind of being kind of like a little bit of a, fuck you. We've devoted time helping build your brand. There's a thing that happened with Warhammer. What was that, last year? The year before? It's so hard to tell. The last few years are such a blur of events that the sense of timing is all off. But remember when Warhammer tried to crack down on all the Warhammer lore YouTubers and stuff because they wanted to bring everything in-house? I hear, various people on their own, D&D YouTube channels starting to make noise about how they got to be careful going forward about what they choose to talk about. AJ Pickett, I believe, did a video along those lines this morning or yesterday. I saw it this morning, one way or the other. Of just saying that, like you can't afford to have them come in and try to like put copyright claims on him because he was discussing their intellectual property by doing a video about the lore of beholders or any of that kind of shit. And like we witnessed Games Workshop just kind of do a prototypical run of that, and now WotC's going to attempt that. And the other companies, if they have any success with this, and you do have a new crop of idiot morons who are just willing to buy into this microtransaction shit and only play these games online because they've been trained by Critical Role and stuff to think of this as something you do on the internet and not something you do in real life with friends in your house. Other companies then are going to be like, well, we're missing out. We're not doing our revenue stream good enough. And then so like what, like there's downwind effects of this. And the only thing we can do is just like put our feet down collectively. And that means, as I said back at the beginning, having some strange bedfellows to accompany you, people that you've been not having the best relations with for the last 6 to 7 years, let's say, for various reasons. They're now your best friend. If you want to actually have any hope of stopping this gaming apocalypse from coming down. I haven't personally seen it, but I've heard other YouTubers comment on the idea that some people, the younger set, are just trying to say there were old men yelling at clouds. Well, sometimes the clouds need to be yelled at because the clouds are full of shit and are trying to just be even more rapey about how much money they want out of us because we haven't done good enough for them. It really is all our fault. We're just so lame for have only spent a fuck ton of money already buying their stupid, useless, fluffy, full of fucking filler products as is, just because it's popular. So, I don't know. Like I said, I got my own original system. You can look at any of my stuff on DriveThruRPG or on Amazon and get a taste of, what I built. We'll just have to see what the future holds, whether or not a new universal system is able to emerge from the fold. Feel free to use it. Build your own stuff. Just be honorable and mention my name, and if you're smart, you might want to consult me on it since I'm the one who came up with it. So anyway, I guess that's about it. Until next time.